Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Firstly, before we get into this, I'd like to say thank you to all of you. On the last video that went out, the channel surpassed 7,000 subscribers. That's fantastic. Thank you all of you so much for your support. If you're new here, subscribed off that last video or just recently, thank you very much for joining. And if you're here and you haven't subscribed yet and you're interested in British politics, which is very interesting at the moment, please do hit the subscribe button and come and join this wonderful community. And please, all of you, do get involved in the comments. I try and interact with you as much as I can down there, so please do come and join in. There was another set of by-elections for local council level that happened Thursday just gone, the 21st of August 2025, and it was another rough night for the Conservative Party, as they tend to be these days for both the Conservatives and the Labour Party. A big moment, really, really, I think, quite symbolic, emblematic. Now, look, if you've been subscribed to the channel for any period of time, you'll know that I have been adamant, in fact, I made a big point of it in the last video, adamant that the Conservative Party is a spent force. They're finished. I don't see them being able to recover from where they are. I think they have a massive credibility crisis. I don't think anyone particularly believes in what they have to say or is frankly very interested in what they have to say. And on that theme, on Thursday night, Friday, when the results came in, the Conservatives lost control of Surrey County Council. Now, bear in mind, Surrey was one of the county councils that the Conservatives conspired to have the election cancelled earlier this year. I've spoken about that at length previously. But Essex, Suffolk, Norfolk, East and West Sussex, the Isle of Wight and Surrey, there may be one or two others that I'm forgetting, but those seven at least, had their elections cancelled by the incumbent administrations. In Surrey, obviously, that was the Conservative Party. So they conspired to avoid this eventuality. But they haven't been able to dodge it. These by-elections have meant that the Conservatives lost both of them, as you can see on the screen there. Addlestone District in Surrey and Hinchley-Wood, Claygate and Oxshott. The former they lost to Reform, as you can see, and the second they lost to the Liberal Democrats. And those two losses take them to below the 50% mark for number of councillors on the council. So the Conservatives no longer have overall majority control. They are still the largest party, but they can't just get things done by themselves now. And that is symbolic because Surrey is very much traditional heartland Tory voting area. Now, in all fairness, I actually think the Conservatives had started to lose Surrey way back in 2019 and 2021. Although they won the council in 2021 and they won the most of the seats, or all of the seats, I think, actually, in Surrey in 2019. Surrey was very much a Remain voting part of the country in the main, and so they weren't particularly enthralled by Boris Johnson and the Brexit movement and the Brexit era of the Conservative Party. So they had started to drift away, but of course the Conservatives did very well in other parts of the country, like Staffordshire and Warwickshire and the Midlands, where we're now seeing Reform doing very well. But they started to lose Surrey, and they've just lost Surrey now, but they didn't manage to hold on to any of the other places either. So they couldn't hold on to what they gained in 2019, and they've also lost their heartland areas. So we can see in Addlestone then Reform from a standing start went straight in at 34.2%, another, as we come to expect really from Reform, very impressive performance, and interesting to see them making inroads in Surrey as well. You know, it goes to show the strength of the Reform movement now. You know, like I say, we kind of would associate Surrey with the Liberal Democrats now more than Reform in terms of where the votes are going away from the Conservatives. But, you know, in certain parts, Reform are actually making pretty good inroads. The Conservatives with an awful 25.9 point decline in their score, which is catastrophic, of course. And in the other district the Liberal Democrats gained, the Liberal Democrats actually interestingly lost 6.2% themselves, but the Conservatives were down 16. Reform again up 8.3, so they had stood here previously, but increased by 8%, so not a bad showing there. The Independents actually did quite well here from having not stood before, up to 15%. So a bit of a mixed bag there. Interesting to see the Liberal Democrats actually losing a bit of vote share, but did come out on top. Addlestone South and Runnymede is not part of Surrey County Council. It is in Surrey, but this was for the District Council, Runnymede District Council, and you can see again Reform making 2 gains off the Conservatives here, 2 seats up for grabs. Reform again from a standing start up to 32.4, and the Conservatives here down 33.1. Just incredible numbers, really. Liberal Democrats finishing in second, even so the Conservatives beaten into second place by the Liberal Democrats as well. So look, what I have to say, the Conservative Party are finished. I have to say I'm quite interested by how impotent they seem now. When you think how ruthless the party was in the last 5 years, going through all those leaders, knifing them as soon as it looked like they were going to lose them an election. Kemi Badenoch, frankly, has never looked like she's ever going to win an election with the Conservatives, and they just seem happy to let her listlessly lead them into oblivion. Now, for the record, I don't think it matters if they did change leader. I don't think there's anyone who can actually save the party. I think maybe some others might be able to staunch some of the bleeding, but I don't think ultimately the party can be saved at this point. I do think it's finished, but it's interesting just to see them, just stick with Kemi. I feel like the clock has to be ticking for her. After the May elections, I saw a number of commentators saying, it'll be next year's local elections that will be the defining moment. By that point, it could be too late. The Conservatives will probably be wiped out in Wales. They will be possibly wiped out, or at least heavily reduced in Scotland. And of course, the local elections in England will probably be pretty bad for them too. So I would have thought by that point the damage will be far too great. But it's very interesting to see them happy to continue with Kemi. If we go and jump across to the nowcast, just to reinforce this point about Surrey. If we come down to Surrey in the bottom of the south of England here, if I just put that in the centre of your screen. And look, you can see there is no, and this is a nowcast, so this is, of course, via Election Maps UK. You can go and check out the website for yourselves. It's a brilliant set of data and maps for you to use for free. And you can see there's no Conservative heartland here at all. There is a bit of blue, but the Liberal Democrats have taken it over. They won a decent chunk of these constituencies in the election last year, but now they're also projected to win Godalming and Ash fairly comfortably off of Jeremy Hunt, obviously the former Chancellor of the Exchequer. Farnham and Borden would also go to the Liberal Democrats, having been won by the Conservatives last time out. So that's another 2 the Lib Dems are taking. The ones they won, they're miles ahead. Surrey Heath, they're way ahead there. Woking, miles ahead. Guildford, really far ahead too. And also interesting, we just mentioned, didn't we? Look, Reform starting to make inroads in Surrey as well, ahead in East Surrey by a somewhat slim margin, but not the slimmest, 4%. But in these other ones where the Conservatives are still clinging on, you can see Reform are right on their tail. Less than 1% behind in Reigate, Runnymede and Weybridge, where we just looked at those by-elections that happened where Reform beat the Conservatives. Well, here it says they're 1.6% behind, so it would track that Reform are definitely on the right path to winning these sorts of constituencies off of the Conservatives in Surrey. So, like I say, incredible to see the power of that Reform movement just building and spreading into these areas of the country that we wouldn't necessarily consider to be Reform territory. Just zooming out quickly, just to, I suppose, to reinforce the point again. I mean, I have made this point numerous times in the last few weeks on the videos, but you can see, just looking at the country, there are no Conservative heartlands. There is no one area of the country where you say, oh yeah, that's where the Conservatives are getting votes. That's where they're safe. They've got big rural constituencies there, which maybe deceives the eye slightly. There's only 35 Conservative seats on this map, which is catastrophic for them. And there's no one locality at all. I mean, the most you can say is that maybe the south is the strongest area for them in general. That's where they're getting the most. But like we just saw, in a number of those, they're really clinging on to the lead. And, in a few months' time, when the polls have moved slightly more, I would anticipate to see a number of those blue constituencies turned either orange or Reform turquoise. So, look, like I say, if you've been watching the channel, you know that my working assumption is that the Conservative Party is finished. I think this losing Surrey County Council is symbolic of them being on that path, losing their heartland areas, while not not gaining anywhere else. Like I say, they took all those Midlands areas and the Red Wall in 2019, and they lost all of those in one election cycle, and also have lost and are losing their heartland areas too. Bear in mind also Kent was a fairly safe Conservative voting area. Devon was a safe Conservative voting area. You can see there's no Conservative blue down there in the southwest at all until you get up north of Somerset. There, literally North Somerset constituency. No Conservatives to be seen in the southwest. No Conservative blue in Kent, bar Tunbridge there. Even Sevenoaks going to reform now as well. Look, there is, like I say, there's just no part of the country here. Essex, even look at Essex. No Conservative blue in Essex, and of course that includes the constituency of Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, Northwest Essex, going to reform. In all fairness, it's even Stevens as far as this poll's concerned. It's edging it to reform, so it's close. But I think it reinforces the point that the Conservatives are very much done for, as I have been saying. Now, look, in all fairness, I will counter that point to say that is my theory, that is my working assumption. But people were saying after 2019 general election that Labour were done. I mean, I don't think anyone was necessarily saying they were finished, but they were saying they were going to be in opposition for maybe a decade. Obviously, that didn't turn out to happen. So things can happen. Funny things can happen, and we've got 4 years until a general election, and that's an awfully long time in politics. So who knows? It'd be a fool who would say for certain. But my theory is the Conservative Party are finished. So I'll stick my neck out on the line and say that, and you can clip it up, and maybe I'll be a laughingstock in a few years' time. But I think that the evidence points in that direction, and that's pretty much all I've got to say for this video, really. Guys, like I said, I'm trying to get back into making the videos again. What would be really useful is if you get in the comments, as you always do, if you get in there and let me know what sort of content you want to see from the channel, what would get you tuning in to watch, what would get you excited. I'd love to know. I have said that before, in all fairness, and then I went on a hiatus away from the channel for a little while. So I'll try this time to read your comments, take them on board, and try and work them into content down the line. I've got some ideas of my own, but it'd just be great to hear what you guys would like to see, really, because in the end of the day, this is for you guys. The channel is nothing without you guys watching it. So yeah, do let me know. Get in the comments with that, and get in the comments with your thoughts on what we've talked about in this video as well. Let me know what you think. Also, please, if you could hit a like for the video as well, that very much helps. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, you like this kind of video, you like the British politics coverage and all that stuff. I do think this channel's quite unique, by the way. The reason I started the channel in the first place was because I couldn't find this sort of content for myself, so I started just doing it myself. So I think it's quite unique, so do come and join us, join the community, and we'll be glad to have you. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you on the next one.